There's nothing like a serious injury, something that impacts our way of life to create a huge disturbance and take away our calm. But with the right methodology and process, we can find our way back to the center of calmness. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Center of Calmness. We're super blessed this evening to have Laura Saltman with us. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And as I understand it, you're calling in from South Florida, which is, I'm sure, the worst place in the world to be at the moment. But how is it there?
It's nice now. We're finally having our cold snap. It's in the 80s instead of the 90s.
I need to go get a jacket right now. I think that's very cold.
Yeah, it's funny how you actually do sort of like where it used to feel hot to you. Now you're like, oh, it's a little cold here. Your body adjusts to that temperature.
I've noticed that, yeah, coming from Houston and actually not living here my whole life. I moved from the Midwest, and although I had a good cold tolerance before, now I had to exchange it, right, for the hot tolerance. And there's only a bandwidth that we can really easily accomplish, right, for that.
Yep.
How, if I could ask, how is the pandemic situation where you are?
Well, Floridians, they're resilient. And so we were all dutiful and stayed inside for the first couple of months and, just kind of like went out for walks and waved to your neighbors in their driveways. And it was actually a very calming, peaceful time. And then back probably like end of May, June, people started being like, I got to go outside. So, people are just going where they want to go and they put their mask on, and most people are very respectful from what I have seen and where I've been around, and so my whole situation might be different than somebody else's, though. It's what you make of it, and it's how you view it and your perception of it. And I've actually been very blessed during this time to have my business be incredibly successful, more successful than it was beforehand. I've been blessed to have my son with me working. I'm working from home. He's doing school from home, and we've gotten some incredible quality time that you can never get back once they get into their teenage years and don't want to hang out with you. So I'm enjoying it this time.
That's all. Yeah, and it definitely helps to strengthen those family bonds and get us out of the rush mode where we were before, where the routines tend to take over and we tend to have all of our time consumed. By rushing from place to place and trying to accomplish everything outside, and now we can work on the game within, if you will, which brings us to our topic today with calmness. And I just remember that as we talked about the topic of calmness, you mentioned your recent wrist injury.
Yeah, so back in December, I actually fell down the stairs at my house. I had this big, giant spiral staircase, beautiful staircase. And I'd always worried about it. I've always had a little bit of a fear of that staircase, and I just was not focused, not present, not paying attention to what I was doing. And I happened to have some stuff in my left hand, and the railing's on the left, and there's nothing on the right. And there was a series about 4 steps before you get to a landing. And actually, thank God that the landing was there. So I slipped and I fell, and my hands were full, and I could not grab the railing because my left hand was full. And so I had to put this hand down to stop myself. And I mean, it just snapped like a twig because it had to hold all of my weight plus stop my 4-stair fall. I mean, and it was like boom. And I knew it. The minute I stood up, my wrist, I mean, it looks good now, but my wrist was like basically like hanging off. It was really not a pleasant sight to see. Yeah.
Wow. And so what was the I think you have some prior training in calmness and the inner game type techniques right before this point, but how did that event first hit you, even despite the fact that they were well trained in managing such things?
Well, instantaneously, I knew that I had, broken my wrist. I knew it was a surgery, that this was not a put it back in place cast. Like I just had that inner knowing. And because I teach meditation, I had probably back then, I think I had finished my teaching certification and been maybe in like 4, 5, 6 months. So I was new to it. But so I was really putting those skills to test. And, I went right into that mode of like, okay, you can't go panic. You cannot go down the rabbit hole and make it worse than it already is. So I try to keep myself as calm and centered as possible, be practical about everything. And at the same time, using what I've been learning through being an author and a channel and a medium about, connecting to my higher self and connecting to guides who are there to help me. And so that's what I did the whole time. I kept asking for help and using the practical, kind of combining everything, mind, body, spirit, to get through the circumstance. So my mom happened to be there, and she, thank God, and she was able to, help me. We tried to actually get into the car rather than call the ambulance. But at that point, I was breathing, using my breathing techniques. But at some point, the level of pain was just too much. So we actually had to call 911, and then 911 came. And they were there within 4 minutes, I think. And the whole time I was meditating, closing my eyes, breathing. I was trying to drown out the noise that was around me, the chaos that I could feel around me, and trying to just come calm. So closing my eyes the whole time, not listening to what other people were saying to me, and just being like, I'm okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then the moment that the paramedics came, I think they were like, who is this girl? Because I really was like, just in that calm space of trying to be at peace, close my eyes, meditate. And then they had to give me the pain medication and whatever it was to calm, get me even more calm, to get me out of pain, to actually get me in the ambulance. Because I couldn't move my arm at that time. So once I was in the ambulance, I kept doing the same thing. And I just kept closing and I would even say to the paramedics, I have to close my eyes. I needed to meditate. I'm a meditation teacher. And they're like, do what you got to do what you got to do. And that's what I did the whole time I was there. And I sort of like tried to have it be like an out of body experience where there was a part of me that was helping me with the pain that I was in as I was there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Although I'd love you to elaborate a bit more on that, particularly the breathing technique you were talking about using, as well as the channeling elements where you're reaching out beyond yourself, right, to bring in energy and support.
Yeah. So the breathing techniques that I was learning in meditation was, your breath is what can slow your heart rate down and help you. So when I was teaching meditation, we would always start with breath and slowing down your breath. Closing your eyes and connecting to your breath is one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're in a crisis. Whether it's 60 seconds or 3 minutes, whatever you can do to drown out the noise, because your physical eyes will show you everything that's happening. But if you can close your eyes and stop looking at the physical eyes, you're not going to see the panic on people's faces. You're not going to see what's going on. And so that's where I tried to stay and drown out what was going on around me, drown out the paramedics, drown out the IVs and that were in me, drown out the ambulance, whirring its whatever, its siren. And so that was me closing my eyes and getting centered. And then the other piece of it is like, as a medium, as a channel, I was able to sort of know that I needed to connect to that other part of me that can help me through this crisis, that I wasn't there alone just as my physical self by myself, that I have, sort of my go-to team on the other side and my, inner self to help me through it. And that's what I kept connecting to. It's almost like if you can lay there during the whole crisis, whatever it is, and you can sort of see yourself leaving your body for a moment, it's like you can see that person who's there to help you. And, if you really are a good spiritual meditator, you can use your third eye and try to like escape the situation, escape it by seeing yourself down the line, being healed, seeing, the surgery going well, whatever is happening. And so I used a little bit of that as I was at the hospital. So we can talk about my hospital experience. That was an interesting one as well.
I'm sure. But yeah, before we get to that point, out of those, if you will, 3 different elements, you have your physical, right? You have the breathing and the relaxation aspect. You have the meditative to maintain the calmness, and then you have the channeling. Which one of those would you say kind of kept you out of the panic of the moment the most?
I think it was just the trifecta. Honestly, I think it was using all 3 together. I think you can't use one without the other. I think you have to connect all 3. And I think that's what's with every situation, no matter what it is, when you can connect the mind, body, spirit trifecta, use the physical medicine, whether it's a medicinal shrubs from a shaman or a seer, whether it's practical medicine from, doctor, whatever it is, Eastern, Western medicine, and then using your energy medicine as well, and then using your centeredness and your calm and your meditation. That is going to be your best way to move through any crisis at all.
So it's really the joining of all three elements into the moment, to give you the, if you will, the ministry in the moment that you require just to simply get through the pain, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, if I could ask, what is the pain, since we're talking about a physical, physical disaster, when you have all that put together, what does the pain even feel like, if you can feel it at all?
Well, I will say that I think that it helped with the pain level, because in the very beginning, because I didn't go into panic mode right away, there was pain there, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't move. And I can't, it was like, I would say, like, if it was at a 10, I feel like doing the meditation and the breathing probably brought it down to about a 7.5, so that I was able to manage and use my mind and my brain in a way that could help me. And then, listen, I'm not against morphine. So when I got to the hospital and the pain was still there, and and it's worse because I could see what it looked like. Like they hadn't bandaged it by the time until like I got into the ER, so I could see the poor little dangling wrist. So definitely, I was like, yes, I will take the morphine and be okay, knowing that I don't have the capacity for addiction anyway, that I knew that I was going to use it in that moment, in that crisis, and then I was going to wean myself off of it very quickly, which I did within like 2 days of being home from the hospital.
Gotcha. And I'm sure to be able to keep that trifecta put together throughout the whole experience, really reduce the inflammation and all the negativity that would normally accompany and that you would have to clear out later.
Yes. Yep.
And your ability to be able to kind of snap into that immediately, also very huge. For anybody who just wants to be prepared to do something like that, if they would experience a similar issue, how would you recommend they get ready so they'd be able to do that in the moment, whenever required?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be in the moment. I think the moment that the crisis happens, and whether it's, falling down a set of stairs, whether it's, getting into a fender bender, whether it's breaking any bone, whether it's a heart issue, whatever it is, the minute that crisis occurs, it's to try to combine that mind, body, soul trifecta, not go into panic mode. Try to, go into a space of recognizing and understanding who you are, not feeling like you're alone, knowing that there's this, whatever that power is that you can tap into, and whatever your belief system, it's tapping into that. It's trying to be present, because presence will help you in every situation. So that's really it. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be handling circumstances. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to continue to fester in your life. But I do know that if you can quell the panic, you will stop that attraction, that law of attraction, where you're just going to create more. You will actually begin to dissipate that, and sometimes be able to stop it in its tracks. And, for me, I had 13 hours in the ER. Like, it was not this is done and I'm good, and my wrist didn't heal overnight. Like, I have been moving through this challenge for the last, 8-9 months now, different levels of that challenge. But it taught me so many things along the way. And that's the thing with every crisis, with everything that goes on in your life, there are lessons for you to be learned about what's going on in your conscious beliefs, your subconscious mind, and that connection. So I learned to trust through that, because I know that I did have my sort of go-to team with me, and that doing what I did, all the things I had learned, was helping me. And so I learned to trust there. I learned to mitigate fear. So, I kept thinking about that darn staircase. And so because of that, eventually I created the circumstance where somebody in the house fell down the stairs. Guess what? Thank God it was me, right? And not my kid or my nephew or my niece or my mom or anybody. So it was about that. It was about learning to be present. Absolutely 100% of those issues where you drop your phone in the toilet, where you get into those fender benders, where you're not paying attention, is always about present, that you're moving too quickly, you're thinking ahead, you're worrying about money, finances, your next role, your next job, whatever it is. It's always about the universe trying to teach you to be present. So I've definitely learned to be more present in life and to not be doing any of those things I just mentioned.
What's interesting is that a lot of folks out there, I would say millions or billions, are going the other way with that, right? Where especially in times of crisis or particularly in times of pain, they're escaping or looking for ways to move out of the situation. You know, perhaps the out of body technique you're talking about would be appealing to somebody in severe pain. But how does being present, being fully present in mind, body, and spirit at that moment of when the pain is highest, how does that help you?
Oh, it definitely helps. I mean, like I said, when I was going through it, I was at a 10 pain, but I was able to bring it about a 7.5. And really it's to unfocus. So, you know, we get a pain, we get a sore throat, we get an earache, whatever is going on in our body, and we tend to focus on that pain. So I've written 4 books that all say the same thing, which is when the pain comes, if you can take yourself out of that space. So see yourself healed. Feel what it feels like to be healed in the body. Try as best as you can to find some joy, whether it's faking it, you know, fake it till you make it. Find joy through your body. You can trick your body with your mind by focusing on something completely different than what's going on in your mind. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time, but it's definitely something you can do. And the other thing I think is so important for people to recognize, because I feel like we're in a sort of the great awakening right now, and everybody's in a different level of learning, is that if you are struggling with pain, take the medicine, like take a Tylenol, take an Advil. And the reason I say that is because sometimes you can't actually activate that joy and finding that faking version of being at peace because you're so focused on your pain. So if you can bring that pain level down with the Western, Eastern medicine, whatever you do to do it, it's going to help you use your mind in a way that's going to help move you beyond the pain by doing those sort of tricks of mind. So that's why I say, like, I'll never say to somebody, oh, just, you know, suffer through it, or no, like if you need to quell the pain a little bit in order to move beyond it, then that's what you do. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I was like, you know, give me the morphine and give me the Percocet, and I will use it to help me during this time. And then I will get myself out of it as quickly as I possibly can, which I said took me about 2 days before I got off of it. And same thing, I had a C-section and I was off pain medicine after 2 days. Like, I don't want that to live in my body. I know that my body is capable of healing itself. I know that my mind is capable of helping me heal. So I try to use those things for any type of healing.
I gotcha. Now, if I could ask also, if you're recommending going ahead with painkillers and not avoiding those per se, do you find that taking those, at least in the moment where you're under the influence of those painkillers, does that affect your meditative capabilities at all?
I mean, it's going to put you to sleep probably, but at that time after, you know, I got home from surgery, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to sleep. So I definitely think, you know, it is a toxin and it does affect your thinking mind. Absolutely. But if you are conscious that you have done it, and you know what it is and what it does, I think you can move beyond that very quickly. If you use it as a painkiller to numb what's going on in your mind without trying to get past that of the mind, then yeah, it's going to become an issue, because it really just becomes that addictant. So you're trading something for the love that comes from within, for the healing that comes from within. So if you do use those things to help you during some, you know, crisis, I would just say, like, remember to decompress from that toxin as quickly as you possibly can. You know, for me, it was green juices and it was tons and tons of water and trying to get those, that out of my system. The other thing I will say too, like, if you have insomnia and you cannot sleep and it has been, 3 to 4 to 5 days of nonstop, and then you're just in this crisis in your body, then I would say to somebody, you know what, take one night, half of something to help you sleep, because what it will do for you is it will allow you to sleep, allow you to get out of that fight or flight response that your body is in. And then from that place, you can go back into your knowing and, your meditative practices and whatever it is that you're doing in your spiritual toolbox. So I'll never be someone to tell you right now, like, do it this way, you have to meditate. I'm always going to be like, do what you need to be able to use your conscious mind in the best way possible to serve you.
Excellent. And that's the key, right? Is applying your conscious mind and conscious mind, body, spirit process. And if you got to take a little painkiller to get that done, then that's what you have.
Yeah, don't avoid the human experience. You can be the most spiritual person on the planet, but if you avoid the human experience, then what are you here for? You're not learning. So be human if you need to in that moment. And that's absolutely what I did. I was very human during the whole crisis, especially in the ER, but I also tried to be spiritual at the same time. So when I was seeing people going through pain in the ER and people were coming and going in 13 hours, I saw so much stuff in that ER. I did what Spirit would always say to me, which is hold space for them, see them as healed, and try to help them. And that helped me as well. My wanting everybody to not be in pain during that time helped me to quell the pain. And then there were those moments of triggers where I was like, I think I was in the hospital room by myself for 4 hours and nobody came to check on me. And so at some point a nurse came in and I was like, I could have been dead in there. Like, you didn't even check on me. No one came in 4 hours. And I'm like, that's not good. Like, you need to check on your patients. I was fine, thank God. But what if somebody wasn't, and I get that it's busy, but just like wave or something to make sure that people are still alive. So, and I feel like that was sort of a co-creative experience where I had to teach her something and she had to show me something as well. And so, I look at everything through that lens now of what am I learning and what am I teaching?
That's totally awesome. Well, Laura, you've shared so much with us today. I really appreciate you coming on to the Center of Calmness here. I wanted to share your information and also just invite you to share who you typically work with in your business and who would most resonate with what you have to offer and reach out to you.
That's a great way to phrase it. Who would most resonate with it? So I do one-on-one readings. I do what are called intuitive soul sessions, which are, guided by spirit, and it's a mix of channeling and tarot and mediumship. But whatever your soul needs, I can help you get it. And so I often don't even I don't really put much out about them on a daily, consistent basis because I allow people to come to me because I know when their soul is ready to receive those messages, they will show up in my life. So I love doing my one-on-one readings where, again, it's like student-teacher relationship. So I learn so much even as I'm able to share wisdom with people and give them the healing or the messages that they need. I teach a class every Monday night on Zoom called Mindfulness, Meditation, and Metaphysics at 8 p.m. Eastern. That is a mix of a guided meditation as well as working with the laws of the universe, helping people understand how they too can open up their own intuition, use their higher self, and use all of these practices that I've been talking about to help in their own journey.
That's huge. And I hope that some of our audience will reach out to you, like you said, when the time is right and their intuition guides them.
Absolutely.
So I've got your information here below. It's simply laurasaltman.com. And if you're on audio, it's just LauraSaltman.com. Laura, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. It was great chatting with you and wishing everybody a happy, blessed, and calm week.
Blessed and calm week. And for you as well. For the Center of Calmness, I'm DK Warner.